Good morning. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. I am Donna Drake, and this is an exciting moment for me to be able to be here talking to all of you. I've always wanted to participate in a TED event, a TEDx event, so this is my first time. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. It's so exciting. So I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and growing up in St. Louis, Missouri, was interesting, and I loved my Midwestern heritage. But for some reason, I was bullied when I was a kid, and I decided that I wanted to grow up and be famous because I thought that if I became famous, the kids that were bullying me were going to be nicer to me. I'll be like, oh, they're going to wish that they were nicer to me because now I'm famous. Well, it's very funny because the children that I grew up with now are some of my closest friends, and they support me, and they're like, oh, we knew you'd grow up to do great things. But today we're going to be talking on figuring out your consistent, unique strengths, finding your it in life. So, like I said, when I was in second grade, I was getting bullied, and my singing teacher, Mrs. Binger, said to me, Donna, you have an amazing singing voice. And I said, thank you. And I put my hands on my hip, and I said, and I'm going to be famous. And she laughed, and she says, okay, great, good to know, And as the years rolled by, when I was in sixth grade, I told my mom, I said, I'm not going to die in small-town Florissant, Missouri. I'm either going to go to New York or California. Why? Because I'm going to be famous. She's like, okay, Donna Marie, that's great. That's wonderful. When I was about 12, I auditioned for a patriotic singing group called the Futures of America. And through that, we sang songs from the 30s to the 70s. We did a patriotic finale. We would sing at camps for children that were disabled. We sang for veterans. So I kind of grew up with this, I guess, personality. And my it at that time was trying to be a cheerleader, if you will, for people, brands, and causes. As I grew up through the years, I really did want to move to New York. My mom got sick when I was in high school, and she was always my biggest fan. And she had breast cancer. And that was a really changing moment in my life where I had to become resilient and I had to be resourceful. So here I was getting married, having my first child, and my mom died. And she was always the person in my life that said, oh, that's my baby, I'm so proud of you. And I no longer had that cheerleader in my life. I had to become a cheerleader for myself. After I got an opportunity to move to New York with my first husband because he got a new job, I was very excited. So here I was with a newborn child, Andrew, and we decided before we moved to New York that we were going to take a trip to California. And we did, but I was in the Northridge earthquake that year. And Elise was a tiny little baby, and she was resting in this little cradle. And when the earthquake hit, something I was familiar about being prepared for, because growing up in St. Louis, they're always talking about the New Madrid Fault. I woke up and I thought an airplane was landing. And I was like, what's going on? And I ran because Elise was sleeping in this little cradle. Well, luckily, she wasn't there because a lamp had fallen in the cradle and she would have been crushed. I had forgot that in the middle of the night, I woke up to feed her, and she was near me. She was with me. So we all went into the bathroom, and crazy things were happening, and televisions were flying across the room. And I said to somebody, I said, was this like a normal thing that people go through? Because I didn't want to overreact. And they're like, no, this was a major earthquake. I said, okay. I still had that dream of being what? Famous. But now I was getting to go to New York. So packed up the babies, drove across the United States from California to New York, landed in New York. My husband's job was very stressful. And it caused a strain on our marriage because I think I was really super homesick. And I decided to become single. That's my positive way for putting a spinning on. I got divorced. I decided to become single. So, yeah. So here I was living in New York, away from my family, away from my friends. I had 2 small children, and I still decided I wanted to do something with my life. I wanted to still participate. So I worked at a local television station called WLNY, CBS affiliate. And I went there and I worked behind the scenes because I never felt pretty enough to be on television. I thought my nose was too big, I didn't like the space between my teeth, and just thought, okay, well, I'll do all this behind the scenes stuff. And I did. So here I was motherless because my mom died, my best friend. I was divorced, living on Long Island, Then I fell in love again, decided to get married again. I married this wonderful man named Tom, and he was an engineer, and he wrote a song, "Life is Only What You Make of It." But shortly after we were married, he had colon cancer, and he died. So I was motherless, I was divorced, and now I was widowed, still a single mom. So I said, okay, I'm gonna move forward with my life. And I did, and I worked at the television station for a long time. And I would do corporate image videos, and I would do voiceovers and things of that nature. And then I had a dream, literally a dream. It was December 28th of 2008. I was sleeping, and I dreamt the television show that I now have completely in color. I found my it. I also decided around that time to get married again. So Tom dies, I start a new TV show. I married this guy named Dan. I'm 40 years old. I decided to have another baby, and I did, and I have Matthew. So now I have Andrew, Elise, and Matthew. But what happened? I realized I didn't really love Dan, that I still love Tom, who died. And you guessed it, I became single again. So now I was motherless, I was divorced, I was widowed, I was divorced again. Now my third husband and I are still very good friends. We're co-raising Matthew. And then the television show just started taking off. I dreamt the whole thing in color. I went to the TV station where I used to work behind the scenes, and I said, I have an idea. I had a dream. I'm going to have my own TV show. And they're looking at me like, you're going to have your own TV show? People weren't doing that then. I said, yes. And I'm going to call it Live It Up. And they're like, okay. And I based it upon two things. December 28th of 2008, when I had the dream, it would have been my wedding anniversary to my husband, Tom, that died. And he's the one that wrote the song, Life is What You Make of It. So I put it all together, Live It Up. And I sold everything I owned because it was 2008 and the economy had tanked. And there was no money, there was no sponsors, so I sold my house, I sold everything I owned at a garage sale, and decided to invest in myself, to invest in my it. And I'm here to share with you, if I can do this, you can do this. How many people have an idea of their it? How many people still are looking for their it? How many people had an it and now they want another it? Okay, so this is how we're gonna do it. It's figuring out consistent, unique strengths. And there's like 5 little keys that I think will help you. And I'm holding on to this because I thought I needed it, but I don't. Okay, so the first key is about snapping. So we're gonna figure it out, okay? So think of a time in your life that you were successful at something. For me, it was when I was in 5th grade and I decided to do a talent show. And I had the people from the gym teachers move out the mats. And I enrolled everybody into doing gymnastics and singing songs, you know, what goes up must come down, spinning wheels. We're doing cartwheels and things like that. So that was one of my early moments of things that I could snap so that I could go back in time and look at it and say, if I can do that, I can do something. Another big snap it moment for me was when I got to interview Jay Leno. So I thought to myself, I was like, wow. I called my dad because my mom's no longer there, and I called my dad in St. Louis. I said, you're not going to believe this. And I'm crying. He goes, babe, are you okay? I said, yeah. I said, but it's not like your daughter grew up to be on The Tonight Show. I said, the guy from The Tonight Show was on your daughter's show. And I was like just crying. So that was a moment for me that changed my life. And if you look on the course of your own life, whether it's when you were in 5th grade or whether you did something successful as an adult, maybe somebody wrote a nice article about you here in Hilton Head or somewhere along the line. And if you could snap it, if you could just make a little picture of yourself in a successful moment, and then create a new project for yourself based upon the fact that you know you've already had a success. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Okay, the next one is out. So the word is focus. So it's figuring out consistent, unique strengths. So the second letter stands for out, and it's about serving it. And no, I don't play tennis, but maybe I'll learn if I move to Hilton Head. It's about how are you other-centered? Who are you when you're out in life? Are you serving on a board? Are you volunteering? Are you the people, round of applause, yay, you TEDxers that are signing everybody in today? That's name and face recognition, right? So figuring out who you are at your unique self is just looking at times in the past or times in the present where there's something unique and special about you, whatever your it is. And this is how you're going to do it. You're going to write down all the things that you're involved in. You know, do you love pets? Are you helping out with the Humane Society? Are you saving the turtles? I loved her speech. She was awesome. So are you doing things like that? And that's going to be your second piece of your puzzle in figuring out your it. How, and thank you for taking notes. That makes me happy. So figuring it out, okay? So the next piece is refresh it. Refresh it. So this key is interesting because it's about consistent. What do you consistently do? Are you consistently nice? Do you consistently open the doors? You know, is there a way that you are able to find things about yourself that are consistent? I try to be kind. I try to be other-focused. You know, I try to be smiley. You know, so these are some things. One of my tips for this idea is to take a water bottle and take the label off of it. You know, buy a whole case of water. Just take labels off of it. Or take a pitcher if you like your tap water and just put a label on it that talks about your 3 consistent strengths. So, and whatever those are for you. And then every time you're pouring the water, you're refreshing yourself. You're constantly reminded. The thing that I find so refreshing about you is boom, boom, and boom. Okay, so that's your 3rd key. Everybody good? Okay. The next one is unique. Everybody is born on one day, and you die on one day. You get here one day, you got to leave on one day. You know, people talk about the journey. They talk about the in and the out. Well, here, it's your birthday. My mom, who you know I love, she remembered everybody's birthday way before social media. We had a calendar at our house, and every single day she would write down who she knew that was born on that day. Basically, because Marilyn down the street, her husband forgot her birthday. So she called my mom. She goes, Don forgot my birthday. And she was crying. And my mom's like, don't worry, Marilyn. Every year, I'm going to remember your birthday. So literally, on the day my mom died, which was January 31st of 1990, a few days later, her funeral, it was cold. It was so, so cold. And there were people lined up all the way throughout the cemetery. And every single person came up to me and said, I'm going to remember your mom on my birthday. I was like, wow, still to this day, it's been some 20-something years, close to 30 years ago, and people will still call and they're like, it's my birthday, and I'll say, oh, happy birthday. They're like, I'm praying for your mom. I'm like, okay, thanks so much. You know, it's like a huge thing. So my idea for this is to make your own birthday card this year. You know, you could even do it today when we're at lunch break. Just take a piece of paper, fold it in half, write happy birthday to yourself, and remember that you are unique. And then voice it. Maybe call your friends when it's their birthday and sing happy birthday to them. Find a way to connect with community with your unique self. You know, you have a voice, right? How lovely would it be if somebody, you know, heard you singing happy birthday to them? Sing happy birthday to yourself. Okay. And then the last key is strengths and sharing it, okay? So it's figuring out consistent, unique strengths. A lot of times as you're going through this process and you're finding what your it is in life, you look around and you're like, man, I got that horse saddle and I haven't rode in like 20-something years. You know, time to giddy on up and maybe send that saddle to somebody that could absolutely use it, you know, and start finding those places in your life where you're just filled around with clutter and there's things that you don't need anymore. And also sharing your time and sharing your strengths, your time, your talent, and your treasure. My mom had a Helen Steiner Rice picture up in our bathroom that said, it's not the things that can be bought that are life's richest treasures. It's the little heart gifts that money cannot measure. So figuring out consistent, unique strengths to help you be resilient, to help you be resourceful in your life. Did I want to be widowed? No. Did I want to choose to be single or divorced as many times as I wanted? No. Did I want to be famous? Yes. But now for me, it's not about me being famous. It's about celebrating the essence of life. It provides me a platform where I can interview celebrities. Like I said, it doesn't matter to me that they're famous. I want to know what their it is in life. How are they helping people? What's their give to the community? I interview businesses about how cool they are and how resilient they are and how resourceful they are for starting their own businesses. And I interview nonprofit organizations. And once again, if I can do this, you can do this. I thank you so very, very much for being here with me, for spending your time with me. And this is all about being your unique self. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.